Hi and welcome to this Leaving Certificate Higher Level Applied Maths video. In this question, we're looking at the 2025 exam question 1 part B. So a conical pendulum consists of a particle of mass 2 kg attached by a light inextensible string of length 1.3 meters to a fixed point P. The particle moves in a horizontal circle of radius 0.5 meters. The center of the circle is vertically below P. Draw a diagram, show the forces acting on the particle. So we can see here we have a diagram in the question. We can see P up the top and then the particle moving in that horizontal circle. So let's put on some information here that can help us. So we know that this length of string is 1.3 meters and there is a radius of 0.5 meters. And we can drop a line straight down here. And then let's look at that first part, which is to draw a diagram showing the forces on the particle. So here's our particle. So everything, when we have a particle of any type, the first force we always put in is our weight. So that is mass times gravity. In this case, our mass is 2 times our gravity of 9.8. That gives us 19.6 newtons. Or if you want to leave that as 2g, that's perfect. We then have the tension in the string bringing it up. Now, in terms of the question, this will be absolutely sufficient for getting your marks for drawing the diagram. However, some things that will help make the question easier. The first is for any force diagram, we put in the direction of motion. So here we have our acceleration, which is always towards the center of the circle. That's our centripetal acceleration. The second thing is this diagram won't be helpful to move forward. We're going to need to resolve any forces that are not currently parallel or perpendicular to that movement. So this one, tension. So we're going to resolve our tension. I'm going to do that on a separate diagram. It is okay to do it on the same diagram. Just bear in mind for your marks that you have to make sure that you haven't got the resolved forces and the original force in the same color, looking the same. In that case, we would take that as like a double counting and you would end up losing marks. So I'm going to resolve tension on a separate diagram. So here's my original diagram. And I'm going to bring my tension is going to come across and up. Now, in terms of the diagram over on the left-hand side, let me tidy up where I didn't do as great a job with my drawing. So there's our 1.3 and our 0.5. So we need an angle. Because we haven't been given an angle in the question, you can put it wherever you want. So I do tend to put my angles up here on top. So let's do that. But equally, if you wanted to put it on the bottom in this question, not an issue. Now, if we put that there, think about where our tension is. So if we think where our tension is, this is where we're after putting the angle. So the angle is also there. So that's our angle, meaning this is going to be T sine theta, and this one's going to be T cos theta. If you change your angle to be at the bottom of that green triangle, then they will swap places. So let's take a look at the information we have. So if this is theta, we have a 0.5 and a 1.3 there. That means we can straight away go to sine, and sine is 5 over 13. 0.5 over 1.3, which then implies 5 over 13. In order to get cos, we need to then work through this using Pythagoras to find that adjacent side. That adjacent side works out as 1.2, which then gives us cos as 12 over 13. And we're going to need that for the rest of the question. So bear in mind that all this extra work that we've done is for the rest of the question. It's not needed for part 1. So the next two questions are quite standard for our horizontal circular motion. We're being asked to find the tension and then calculate the angular velocity of the particle. So I've pulled in our resolved diagram here. So we have all the bits that we need, and I've pulled in my sine and cos that we've calculated. So anytime we have a horizontal circular motion question, we do two things. The first thing we do is forces up equals forces down. So for us, that means that T cos theta is going to equal our weight, which is 19.6. Subbing in for cos, that gives us 12t over 13 is equal to 19.6. So t is equal to 13 over 12 times 19.6. And that gives us 21.23 newtons. So the second thing that we always do when we have a horizontal circular motion question is we ask ourselves about the centripetal force. So we ask what force is acting as the centripetal force. So again, our force diagram, if drawn well, will help us. So here's our acceleration towards the center. So this is the force that's pulling us in. So we can write that. That's going to be our T sine theta is our centripetal force. So we have two formulas when we deal with centripetal force. So our question is, which one are we using and why? Here are our options. And because we want angular velocity, we're focusing on the angular velocity formula. So that means our centripetal force, which is T sine theta, is equal to mass, which was 2, the radius, which was 0.5, and then omega squared. We know the T, which is 21.23, sine is 5 over 13, and then that's just omega squared. So omega is equal to the square root of 5 over 13 times 21.23, and this gives us 2.86, and that's radians per second. So the last part of this question is a little bit tricky. The particle is given an increased velocity such that its period changes to 1.5 seconds. Calculate the new radius. So if we can picture what happens, we're starting with this and then it spins faster, which gives us this kind of like wider radius. Now, what we need to bear in mind is that a few things are changing. So there's an increased velocity, which means that omega also changes. And the thing that kind of catches students on this is tension changes. And that's really important because if you bring your tension through, you're going to get the wrong answer. So bear that in mind. Okay, because the reason tension is changing is because the angle is changing. So if you think about the angle we had in the previous parts versus this updated angle, let's call it alpha, alpha is bigger than theta because the radius has expanded. And think about how we calculated our tension. So this new angle creates a new tension. So don't get caught out by that. The information we've been given is that the period changes to 1.5. So the period is the time it takes to do one full revolution. Now, we don't have a formula for that, but on page 51 of the log tables, we are given that omega is equal to theta over t. Now, that can be generalized into 2 pi for a full rotation over t, the period. So we do have a version that we can use with this, but it's not directly from the tables. So that means omega is equal to 2 pi divided by 1.5. And leaving this in terms of pi, that's 4 pi over 3. That's the new omega. Or if you want that in decimal, it works out about 4.189 radians per second. So we've got our omega. So we're trying to get our new radius. So if we go back to the formula we had in the last part, and that was sine theta is equal to m omega squared r. So we have t, which we don't know. Our sine of our angle, this, remember, we have a new angle here. So actually, let's call this alpha to avoid any confusion. So we have two sine alpha is equal to our mass, which is still 2, 4 pi over 3 squared times r. Now, at this point, we have two unknowns, so this is a little bit tricky. However, we can rewrite our sine of alpha in terms of r. So here's our r, and remember that the length of the string, that won't change. So I can rewrite this as r over 1.3 is equal to 2 times 4 pi over 3 squared r. The r's here are gone, so that allows us to solve for t. So when we work that through, our new value for t is 45.62 newtons. And now we're able to go forward and get our radius. To do that, we're going to use our t cos theta is equal to, so this was our forces up, equal our forces down. So that's going to be our mg. So that's going to be 45.62 times cos. So our cos in this case, we can do a bit of work. Let me put an x here. So x will be equal to the square root of 1.3 squared minus 4 squared. That's going to be our just Pythagoras rearranged. So that is 1.69 minus 4 squared. 1.69 minus 4 squared all over 1.3. And then that's 19.6. Now, just giving us a little bit of space to work. So square root of 1.69 minus r squared over 1.3, that's equal to 19.6 divided by 45.62. I'm going to actually even bring that 1.3 across as well before I do that squaring. So 1.3 by 19.6 all over 45.62. You can go to your calculator at any point. This is just to save time that I'm not. So they are gone. So that gives me 1.69 minus r squared is equal to this whole fraction squared. Let's get that into the calculator. 1.3 by 19.6 all over 45.62. And then we want that squared. So that's giving us 0.31195. So let's bring that together with the 1.69. And we're left with r squared is equal to 1.378. So r is going to be the square root of that, which works out as 1.17, and that is in meters. So that is quite a long, tricky question with a lot of parts in it. It was only worth 5 marks according to the marking scheme. There is a slightly easier way to approach it, so let me go through that alternative method with you now. So this is an alternative method for part 4, and it's a little bit quicker, a little bit less calculations involved. You might find the idea of it a little bit trickier, so really focus on what one you would prefer to work with. So I'm going to start with my triangle to represent the pendulum. My 1.3 here is the length of the string that hasn't changed. I have my r, which is the radius I'm looking for. Let's call this angle alpha, just like in the last method. And this works out as 1.69 minus r squared. That's just using Pythagoras to rearrange. So we're going to go with our two formulas we have. So we have T cos alpha is equal to m times g, and we have T sine alpha is going to be m omega squared r. Now, if we put one over the other, so T sine alpha divided by T cos alpha, we then get m omega squared r over mg. Some nice things happen. The t's disappear, so we don't have to worry about them. The m's disappear, so we don't have to worry about them. And sine over cos gives me tan. So tan alpha is equal to omega squared or times g. So plugging in for tan, Tan is opposite, which is r over adjacent, square root of 1.69 minus r squared, and that equals omega squared r over g. The r's here are also going to disappear. I can also flip both fractions. So when two fractions are equal, their reciprocals are also equal. Reciprocal means we just flip our function. So we end up with this. So you can sub in your g at this point. We're going to need to get our omega. So let's go back to that idea of omega is equal to theta divided by t. Because we were given, remember, the period here of 1.5, that's going to be 2 pi divided by 1.5. That gives us 4 pi over 3. So this means I can square both sides. So we get 1.69 minus r squared is equal to 9.8 divided by 4 pi over 3 squared, all to be squared. So that can go to the calculator. R squared is equal 0.312. So that gives us r squared is equal to 1.69, 1.378. When we square root that, and we get r equals 1.17, and that's in meters. So this one is a little bit more efficient with your time. You've less to find. You don't have to find your t, and you don't have to work out angle or anything like that. So there's two different methods to approach that part. But like I said, in the final marking scheme, that was worth 5 marks.